questions are being asked about the level of G-force imposed within the Blue Origin New Shepard capsule during Monday's launch abort. Reporter Eric Berger on Saturday tweeted an interesting observation, pointing out a post by a New Shepard payload investigator that cites a very high G-force reading recorded by one of the many experiments aboard NS-23. James Joyner manages the electrostatic regolith interaction experiment, ERI. His LinkedIn message says, "Blue Origin removed and returned the ERI payload to our team. After a quick look post-flight assessment, the payload is in good shape after a 15G e-ticket ride." Berger's tweet caused speculation about the intensity of the force and whether it would cause injury to human passengers. It needs to be emphasized that the experiment did not have force measurement as its primary purpose, and in fact may not have been the source of the reading mentioned in the social media post. Blue Origin has not updated the media since Monday. The chair and ranking member of the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology have sent a letter to Billy Nolan, acting administrator of the FAA, requesting updates on the NS-23 investigation. The letter notes that on a different day with a different mission, this vehicle's anomaly could have put human lives in danger. A very busy week ahead. NASA will provide live coverage with commentary of the upcoming Artemis 1 cryogenic demonstration test beginning at 7:15 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, September 21st. Although there are rumors that NASA will be granted the requested flight termination system waiver that would permit launch as soon as September 27th, no official announcement has been made. The demonstration test will allow teams to confirm the repair to a hydrogen leak seen during an early September launch attempt, evaluate updated propellant loading procedures, and conduct additional evaluations. The demonstration will conclude when the objectives for the test have been met. While NASA is airing coverage of the Soyuz MS-22 flight to the International Space Station on NASA Television's public channel, the Artemis demonstration test will air only on the media channel. During all other times, the test will air on both the public and media channels. The Soyuz launch is slated for 9:54 a.m. on Wednesday, with docking at 1:11 p.m. after a two-orbit, 3-hour journey. Capstone mission controllers continue their efforts to recover control of the little ship, now about 56 days away from lunar orbit. In response to a question about the suspected cause of the initial anomaly, they have now stated that controllers believe the most likely cause of the loss of attitude control was an unexpected thruster firing at the end of the planned trajectory correction maneuver. Their detailed statement describes the current improved state of the craft. Capstone received some relatively good news on the recovery progress for the spacecraft. The communications situation has dramatically improved. The power state of the spacecraft appears to be sufficient for continuous duty cycled heating of the propulsion system, which dropped below its operational temperature over the past few days. Capstone's power, though limited by the orientation of the spacecraft in its spin relative to the Sun, appears to be sufficient for heating of the propulsion system. When the spacecraft propulsion system temperatures are over 5 degrees Celsius, 41 degrees Fahrenheit, for 12 hours or more, the system will be further evaluated for use in the recovery operation. Recovery plans that mitigate risk of further anomalous behavior are being developed. We do not have a timeline for a recovery attempt, but the team is working hard to make progress guided by what we are learning from the data with an explicit goal to minimize further risk to the mission. We are effusively grateful to the teams at the Deep Space Network, NASA, Terran Orbital, and Advanced Space who have supported this ongoing effort continuously over the past 5 days. Without the quick action and dedicated attention of all of these exceptional individuals, the Capstone mission would likely have been lost due to this anomaly. As it stands today, the vehicle is stable, and the combined mission operations team is working towards attempting a recovery operation. The Galaxy NGC 1961 unfurls its gorgeous spiral arms in this newly released image from Hubble. Glittering blue regions of bright young stars glow in the dusty spiral arms winding around the galaxy's glowing center. NGC 1961 is an intermediate spiral and an active galactic nuclei type of galaxy. Intermediate spirals are in between barred and unbarred spiral galaxies, meaning they don't have a well-defined bar of stars at their centers. AGN galaxies have very bright centers that often far outshine the rest of the galaxy at certain wavelengths of light. These galaxies likely have supermassive black holes at their cores, churning out bright jets and winds that shape their evolution. NGC 1961 is a fairly common type of AGN that emits low-energy charged particles. The data used to create this image came from two proposals. One studied previously unobserved arc galaxies, while the other looked at the progenitors and explosions of a variety of supernovae. Located about 180 million light-years away, NGC 1961 resides in the constellation Camelopardalis. NASA is seeking proposals for sustainable lunar lander development and demonstration as the agency works toward a regular cadence of moon landings. Through Artemis missions, NASA is preparing to return humans to the moon, including the first woman and first person of color, for long-term scientific discovery and exploration. Under the solicitation, Human Landing System Sustaining Lunar Development, NASA has provided requirements for companies interested in developing and demonstrating astronaut moon landers. These efforts will pave the way for multiple companies to provide recurring moon landing services beyond the Artemis 3 mission, which is planned for no earlier than 2025. Companies selected under this contract will be required to perform one uncrewed and one crewed lunar landing demonstration. NASA will certify any lander system to meet its requirements prior to the crewed demonstration missions. The final call for proposals comes after NASA incorporated industry feedback on the draft solicitation, released March 31st, encouraging companies to send comments to help shape a key component of the agency's human exploration Artemis architecture. NASA also hosted a virtual industry day in April to present an overview of the solicitation and to provide companies an opportunity to ask clarifying questions and provide comments. NASA's existing contract with SpaceX includes both an uncrewed and a crewed lunar landing demonstration that is part of the Artemis 3 mission. The agency plans to exercise an option under this contract, known as Option B, asking the company to evolve its current Artemis 3 Starship human landing system design to meet an extended set of requirements for sustaining missions at the Moon and conduct another crewed demonstration landing. These concurrent sustaining lander development efforts will meet NASA's needs for recurring, long-term access to the lunar surface, such as the ability to dock with Gateway for crew transfer, accommodate an increased crew size, and deliver more mass to the surface.
What an exciting day at the Kennedy Space Center. You can see the Orion spaceship coming out of the O&C building where we've been assembling it for several years. As big a step as this is for us today in rolling out and starting the journey of Artemis 1 to the Moon and beyond, we're really excited for this test program to get this vehicle flowing and to begin the next steps, which are to send humans back to the Moon.
The twin sister of Apollo, Artemis is the name given to the program that will return humanity to the Moon. And named after one of the largest constellations in the sky, Orion is the spacecraft destined to get us there. Through Artemis missions, NASA will land the first woman and the first person of color on the lunar surface. And these missions will allow us to explore more of the Moon than ever before, paving the way for long-term presence in lunar orbit.
We're rolling the Orion spacecraft out, but it's beginning its journey. We're really kind of at the end of the building process and the beginning of getting ready to go fly.
But before Orion can travel to our nearest celestial body, it must first make a few pit stops along the way to fuel up and get ready for flight.
As we leave here today, we're going to go to a facility that'll fuel the spacecraft with the rocket fuels and propellants it needs. We'll put a launch abort system on. We'll send it out to be stacked in the rocket and launched. And it's really the last few yards of the game.
Orion's journey to the Moon began on the Bayou. NASA's Michoud Assembly Facility in New Orleans is where technicians with Lockheed Martin began welding the pieces of the spacecraft's underlying aluminum structure together. 1 year later, it arrived in Florida, taking up semi-permanent residence inside the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Building at NASA's Kennedy Space Center. Engineers and technicians will spend the next years working almost around the clock outfitting Orion with thousands of components and pushing the capsule through several rounds of rigorous testing as teams prepare for its flight around the moon. The first step, though, is the crew module's arrival.
When the crew module shows up here at the O&C building, it's really just a welded shell of the structure. When it gets here, we put it into a fixture called the bird cage tool, and we use that fixture to position and attach all of the mechanically attached primary and secondary structure for the crew module.
Part of that includes the heat shield, which protects the crew module as it blazes through Earth's atmosphere at astonishing speed as it returns home. Technicians with Lockheed bond those thermal protection system products onto the heat shield right here in the O&C. And they do the same for the crew module's forward bay cover.
We bond that on here, and basically this covers the forward bay of the crew module, such that once we come back into the atmosphere, this gets jettisoned and all of the landing system, i.e. parachutes, get deployed and slow the crew module down so that when it touches down in the ocean, it's only going a few miles an hour.
With the primary and secondary structures all attached, the crew module is tested to see how everything holds up. Orion is pressurized, stressing the welds to ensure they'll hold up under the proper loading. Afterwards, non-destructive evaluation of those welds is conducted to check for any voids or cracks. Once the structure is deemed strong enough, the crew module is moved just a few spaces down into the O&C's clean room for its next round of integrations.
We bring that structure into our clean room, which is you see behind me, because we need to start integrating the propulsion system and elements of the environmental control and life support subsystems, and those systems require a cleaner environment than the one we're standing in out here.
When all of that is done, the crew module is on the move again to the crew module integration station. There, all of the electrical systems, including wire harnesses and avionics boxes that control the crew module's guidance, navigation, communications, and its power subsystems, are integrated. Next, it's time to bring the spacecraft to life.
We power it up, and then we go into a whole series of functional tests to make sure all the subsystems that we've integrated up to that point are functioning properly.
But the crew module isn't the only thing that makes up the Orion spacecraft.
All the people, the work, the components that have gone into this vehicle, it's just an amazing feat.
Teams also worked closely with the European Space Agency to build the service module, the element that will power Orion on its journey around the moon. Once that arrives from Bremen, Germany, Lockheed moves forward with integrating the two.
The service module has a very similar life cycle to the crew module. We build it up structurally, we integrate the propulsion system and the other fluid systems, and then we integrate it electrically and power it up and do functional tests on it. And when we have a full service module and a full crew module, then we stack the two together and we have what's called the crew service module for Artemis 1.
Under the Artemis program, NASA plans to not only return to the moon, but to use that as a stepping stone to go farther than any human has ever gone before, Mars. To get there, it's truly a cross-country and international effort among thousands of individuals.
When you consider all the people, at the Johnson Space Center, Marshall Space Flight Center, all across the agency, SLS, Orion, the European service module, Boeing and their team, Lockheed Martin and their team, and to see all of that come together on that launch when we send it on its way to the moon, it's going to be absolutely amazing, and we're going to have a lot of really proud, happy people.
Building a spacecraft destined for deep space exploration from the ground up is no easy task. And the fact that these teams have been able to come together and do just that in the midst of a global pandemic is nothing short of amazing.
You know, it really is a testament to the workforce. If you think about what we've been through over the years that they've been putting this together, and particularly think about the environment that this team was dealing with. We're dealing with COVID, and we're asking these folks to come into work every day and finish the spacecraft so we can keep this mission going. And we're ready, and we're excited. And so as they turn this over to us, we're ready to get going.
And really, this is only the start of Orion's path to the pad.
It's a little hard to put into words when you think about the fact that we are in the first flow of what will be our nation's deep space exploration program. It hits you in the heart, and it really speaks to why we all are doing what we're doing.
I never thought as a little kid growing up I'd be part of something like this today. Now as a dad of 2 young girls, to be able to tell them what I do and to be able to have them someday watch the first woman stand on the moon is pretty amazing to me personally.
As the Orion spacecraft departs the O&C, its next stop is the Multi-Payload Processing Facility, or MPPF, where teams with NASA's Exploration Ground Systems and prime contractor Jacobs will perform the next set of milestones, fueling and servicing the spacecraft.
We have a few months of hard but rewarding work ahead of us to get to launch, but this is it. This is our year. This is our time and what folks have worked so hard for.
Now, we're going to continue with processing, get that thing checked out, fueled, get the launch abort motor stuck on top of it.
With fueling of Orion's crew and service modules complete, the spacecraft moves from the MPPF into the Launch Abort System facility.
We just finished fueling the spaceship, and we moved it to the LASA facility, the Launch Abort System facility, to put the Launch Abort System on the top of Orion.
And in July 2019, teams completed a critical test, the Ascent Abort 2 flight test, to validate the Launch Abort System works as expected. After reaching an altitude of about 6 miles, where the test spacecraft experienced high-stress conditions expected during launch, the abort sequence triggered. Within milliseconds, the abort motor fired to pull the crew module away to safety. Its attitude control motor flipped the capsule into the proper orientation, and the jettison motor fired to release the crew module for a splashdown in the Atlantic Ocean.
I feel, just honored and humbled every day to be able to work on this stuff.
This rocket is just going to be absolutely amazing.
Now that the spacecraft's launch abort system is securely in place, Orion is ready for the next stop on its path to the pad, the Vehicle Assembly Building. Once inside, the spacecraft will be placed on top of the Space Launch System rocket, the most powerful rocket the world has ever seen.